Jupiter is the giant of our solar system, a ball of gas so vast that every other planet could fit inside it with room to spare. We've watched it for 400 years, sent 9 spacecraft to it, and one is circling it right now. No other world in our sky has amazed us and confused us more. And the more we look, the stranger it gets. Because Jupiter breaks the rules. It has a storm that has raged for centuries. It rains liquid diamonds. It hides an ocean of metal, a moon with its own aurora, and a world where the search for alien life is happening right now. Tonight, we're counting down the 8 weirdest things ever found on Jupiter and the strange family of worlds that orbit it. Some of them we've finally explained, some of them we haven't, and the last one might change what we think we are. The Great Red Spot. Look at Jupiter through even a small telescope, and one feature jumps out immediately: a single, enormous red eye staring back at you from the clouds. It is a storm. A hurricane so wide you could drop the entire Earth into it and still have room around the edges. And here is what makes it uncanny. Astronomers have been tracking a giant red storm in that same place since at least the 1830s, and maybe as far back as the 1600s. On Earth, a hurricane burns out in days. This one has raged for centuries. What feeds it? With no solid ground to slow it down, the storm simply spins on and on, powered by Jupiter's internal heat and its neighboring jet streams. But 2 mysteries still refuse to close. No one is sure why it is red. The best guess is sunlight cooking chemicals from below. Yet no lab has ever reproduced that exact shade, and stranger still, it is shrinking. A century ago, it could have swallowed 3 Earths side by side. Today, it is barely wide enough for one. The oldest storm we have ever tracked is quietly dying in front of us, and no one can say what happens when it finally does. Diamond rain. It sounds like something invented for a movie. Deep inside Jupiter, it may actually rain diamonds. Here's the idea. Towering lightning storms high in the atmosphere tear apart methane gas, freeing pure carbon. As those flecks of soot drift downward into crushing pressure and rising heat, they are squeezed, first into graphite, the soft gray stuff inside a pencil, and then, deeper still, into solid diamond. Scientists calculated that these gemstones could sink for hundreds of miles, growing as they fall, until the heat far below finally melts them into a warm diamond liquid. For a while, it was one of the most talked about claims in all of planetary science. It even made headlines around the world. But be careful with this one, because the whole idea rests on lab experiments imitating an interior no one can ever visit. And yet the numbers are staggering, with some estimates suggesting the giant planets could forge millions of tons of diamond every year. We cannot go down there to check. Somewhere beneath those clouds in the dark, there may be a rain no human will ever see, made of the hardest, brightest thing we know: the shape at the pole. When the Juno spacecraft first flew over Jupiter's North Pole, it sent back something no one was ready for. Arranged around the pole was a cluster of gigantic storms, each one a hurricane the size of a continent, locked into a shape that looked almost machined, a near-perfect octagon. 8 cyclones, ringing a 9th in the center. Down at the South Pole sat another one, a 5-sided pattern. Nature is not supposed to be this tidy, so why don't these monstrous storms drift, merge, or tear each other apart? Borrowing the physics of ordinary ocean eddies here on Earth, researchers found that each cyclone pushes back on its neighbors, holding the whole formation in a locked, balanced ring. It is the same math that describes swirls in a shallow tank of water. That explains the shape. What it doesn't fully explain is how long a pattern like this can survive, and it has barely changed through years of watching. Jupiter drew a perfect geometric crown at its pole and left us checking, mission after mission, to see if it is still there. The Great Blue Spot. Jupiter has a second famous spot, and you will never see this one with your eyes because it isn't made of clouds or color at all. It is made of magnetism. When Juno mapped Jupiter's magnetic field for the first time, it found a strange, intense patch near the equator where the field plunges sharply inward, and on the maps, scientists colored it deep blue. They called it the Great Blue Spot. Jupiter already has the most powerful magnetic field of any planet in the solar system, wrapped in radiation that would kill a human in minutes. minutes, and this was its strangest feature of all. Then came the real shock. The spot is moving, slowly drifting, and its strength is changing over time. Until Juno, this kind of shifting, evolving magnetism was something we thought only Earth's molten core could produce. A planet, it turns out, can have weather in its magnetism, not just in its skies. It is a storm with no clouds, a spot with no color, a giant blue scar you can only see if you learn to read a planet's magnetism instead of its sky. Ganymede. Jupiter isn't just a planet, it is a system with dozens of moons, and one of them is a giant. Ganymede is the largest moon in the entire solar system, so big that it is wider than the planet Mercury. If it orbited the Sun on its own, we would call it a planet without hesitation. And it is the only moon we know of that generates its own magnetic field, which means Ganymede has its own shimmering auroras, ribbons of light dancing over an alien world. Those auroras gave away a hidden secret. By watching the exact way they flickered and swayed, astronomers using Hubble realized they were being tugged by something buried deep inside, a vast underground ocean of salt water sealed beneath a thick shell of ice. Current estimates put that hidden ocean at more water than every ocean on Earth combined, an ocean world hiding in plain sight. A European spacecraft called JUICE is already on its way there to look closer, a frozen moon, glowing with its own northern lights, hiding a sea in the dark. Io. Now move closer to Jupiter, to a moon that looks like it was pulled straight out of hell. Io is the most volcanically violent place in the entire solar system. It has hundreds of active volcanoes, some of them blasting fountains of lava, dozens of miles up into the sky. You can see the biggest plumes from space. The whole surface is a nightmare of yellow sulfur, black rock, and glowing red vents, torn open and repaved by eruptions again and again. Whole regions of it change color between missions, but Io is far too small to still be molten inside on its own. So what is powering all of this? The answer is a slow, brutal squeeze. Trapped between Jupiter's enormous gravity and the pull of the neighboring moons, Io is stretched and crushed over and over, and all that friction heats its insides until they melt. Just how deep that molten layer runs is still debated, with different missions returning different readings. It is a small world being kneaded to death by the giant it orbits and screaming fire because of it. A planet with no bottom. Here is the strangest thing about Jupiter itself. It has no ground. None. If you tried to land on it, there would be nothing to land on. Imagine falling in. You would just keep falling. First through freezing clouds of ammonia, then through air that grows hotter and thicker around you, until it stops behaving like a gas at all and quietly becomes a crushing liquid, with no surface, no splash, no line where the sky ends and the ocean begins. You would never hit anything solid to stop you. You would just be crushed slowly by the unimaginable weight of the sky above. Go deeper still, and the pressure becomes so extreme that hydrogen itself is squeezed until it turns into a metal, a vast, churning ocean of liquid metallic hydrogen that conducts electricity and generates that monstrous magnetic field. And the core? For decades, the textbook picture was a neat ball of rock at the very center. Instead, spacecraft data points to something blurrier, a core that seems half dissolved into the layers around it, and scientists are still fighting over how it got that way. Jupiter is a planet you could never stand on, a world that is bottomless all the way down. Europa. And that brings us to the last one, the strangest of all, because this one is still an open question right now. Europa is one of Jupiter's icy moons, wrapped in a smooth shell of cracked ice, and beneath that shell hides a global ocean of liquid salt water, holding perhaps twice as much water as every ocean on Earth combined. Warm, dark, and possibly stirred by hydrothermal vents on its floor, it may have every single ingredient that life needs. And this is not a solved mystery. As of this year, scientists are openly split. One camp argues that Europa's seafloor is cold, closed off, and geologically dead. The other points to new evidence for warmth and chemistry that could still keep something alive down there in the dark. Neither side has the final word. Within our lifetimes, we may finally learn whether Earth is the only place where water ever came alive. But a NASA spacecraft, Europa Clipper, is already crossing the solar system to find out. Right now, the single most promising place to find life beyond Earth is not some distant star in another galaxy. It is a frozen moon of Jupiter, waiting with an ocean under the ice. Look back over the whole list. A storm that has raged for centuries, rain made of diamonds, a perfect shape drawn at the pole, a blue spot you can only see in magnetism. Some of Jupiter's riddles we have finally cracked. But then, there is the other half. A moon glowing with its own aurora, a world of endless fire, a planet with no bottom, and a blurry heart we still can't explain, and an ocean under the ice, where the search for life is happening right now. Jupiter isn't one strange thing. It is a whole system of them, a giant that keeps rewriting the rules every time we look closer. The closer we get, the less ordinary it looks. We have sent our machines all the way across the solar system just to stare into it, and it is still keeping its greatest secret, waiting under the ice for us to find.